Howdy folks, it's Bucket Fridge. I hope you're all doing very well today. Thank you so much for stopping by the channel. It's been a week since I've seen you guys. I hope everybody's enjoying the Destroyer as much as I have been. As you can see on screen, we're able to get to 1395 in our first week, maybe to 1400 by the end of the day before reset. We'll see what happens. But I hope everybody's been able to enjoy the Destroyer, have a bunch of fun. I hope those guides were helpful for you in figuring out your Destroyer. Let me know in the comments down below what you got your Destroyer to, where you are in your Destroyer journey, and how things are going. If you guys would care to join me on Twitch, I have a Twitch link down below where I stream Monday, Tuesday, and Fridays, maybe on Wednesdays as well, depending on how long recording takes. But I'd love to see you guys over there and love to talk about Destroyer with you and love to be able to show you what's going on with me, and we can all hang out live together. So if you want to come hang out on Twitch, please come and see me and come hang out. We can be Destroyer buds together. But without further ado, let's get into why you clicked on the video. This is part 3 of the 3-part series that we've had on this channel here. If you're not familiar with the other 2 parts, please go check that out. I'll put up a card, and you guys can watch those 2 before you watch this one. So this one will be the in-depth PvP guide. So I hope that everybody's ready for the PvP guide, and I hope everybody's ready to bonk some faces. So without further ado, let's hop into the video, and I'll see you guys on the other side.
All night, I'm gonna smash your boy, guys. I'm gonna smash your boy. And
we got there. Woo. We got there. We got there, boys and girls. Oh my God. We got there, boys. We got there. Clutching the match.
All right, a little housekeeping before we get into the build. A few things. The first thing I want to talk to you guys about is that I will be uploading a weekly video about my trek through the journey of climbing the PvP ladder. So make sure to subscribe to tune in to catch those videos to see me PvP. And like I said, you can come watch me PvP live on stream if you'd prefer. But also, I just want to mention that this is just a guide to help you get started in PvP. There is no wrong or right way to PvP, so to speak. I am not the best PvPer in the world. I feel that I am proficient and I do well on Destroyer, but that does not mean that I have all the information, that I have every one of the answers, that I am the best player out there. I highly encourage you to always look for more information, to look for more guides, to look for more things that help you understand the Destroyer better and help you understand your playstyle better. I'm just here to give you a basic foundation that you can build on yourself and tune and operate and change to help you make the best decisions that you can when you're in PvP. I highly encourage you to go find other content creators' guides as well and make something that works for you. It is not about having the one specific right build for PvP. PvP is very fluid. PvP is not like PvE where you have set rotations, set, parameters. Everything is fluid. Everything is changing, and if you don't like the way a certain ability functions with a certain tripod or etc., you can change it to make it fit your play style. So with that being said, let's hop into the skills and the tripods and why I choose the ones that I do and the reasons behind them, and then you guys can make the best decisions for yourself. Alrighty, let's start with my current distribution of stats. So I think the first thing that you need to do for sure is 750 swiftness. This will allow you to obviously move faster and have shorter cooldowns, and this is the max that you can have at 750. Then we want to go into 249 into specialization. Specialization, if you guys will remember from the last video, will increase the amount of damage that our purple skills do, as well as helping us build up our meter for our identity skill, which is actually very, very, very good in PvP. So that's the reason I choose to go 249 into specialization. You could choose to go 249 into domination, maybe if you wanted a little bit more damage. I haven't tested that out yet, but I'm sure that might be something that you could do. And then we just want to have 1 point in crit. The reason we want to have 1 point in crit is because if you have 0 points in crit, you cannot crit in PvP. So putting 1 skill point in there will allow you to be able to crit. It is a random chance, just like normal crit, depending on your crit rate chance. But having 1 point in there is usually sufficient enough to land the odd crit here or there. It is not usually worth in PvP to stack crit because it is still a percentage chance, where the stats could be distributed elsewhere, like in the specialization and swiftness, to give you more effectiveness on the battlefield. Alrighty, let's go into our abilities next. We'll go over the ability choices, and then we'll go over the tripods after we go over all of our ability choices. So one of the things that's unique about Destroyer in PvP, obviously, is that we are usually a fairly slow and mobile class. We do have a lot of movement skills, but traditionally the Destroyer is not mobile, say like a Sorceress is mobile or that a Gunslinger is mobile. We're fairly stationary in comparison compared to those classes. So that being said, we want to be able to stick onto our targets as long as we can and be as sticky as we can, making it hard for classes to get away from us. And once we do get them away from us and get them to use their space bar, they are there for the bonking. So with that being said, as you'll notice, we actually have 3 different movement skills. We have our jumping smash, which you guys will remember from the PvE video as well. It's a wonderful ability in PvP. We have our power shoulder. I'm sure you guys remember that from the previous video as well. But then the new one that you're probably not as familiar with is running crash. Running crash is a hold down skill, and you essentially will point your mouse in a certain direction and hold it down, and you will travel in a straight line. And then at the end of it, you will explode for damage and knocking your opponents down. So these are our 3 movement abilities that help us get into melee and stay in melee from those highly mobile classes like Sork and Gunslinger. All right, and for our other 2 blue abilities, you will notice we take Dreadnought like we take in PvE. And the reason we take this in PvP over Power Strike is because it has tenacity on it. Tenacity is so valuable in PvP, and is one of the strengths of Destroyer in PvP is we have 1, 2, 3, 4 abilities with tenacity on them. Really good, right? And then our probably most important blue skill, just like our most important blue skill is in PvE, is our Endure Pain. It allows you to have immunity from most CC for 9 seconds. That is gigantic in PvP. You will make Sorks run in terror when you walk right through some of their CC and bonk them in the face. So again, Endure Pain and Dreadnought are the other 2 blue abilities we take in PvP. All right, now onto our purple abilities. Our 3 spenders that we're taking in PvP are Earth Eater, Perfect Swing, and Seismic Hammer, and you'll notice that on all of our purple abilities we have tenacity. Learning to use tenacity to your advantage to get out of CC is very important when it comes to PvPing with Destroyer. So taking our big damage abilities and giving them all tenacity ensures that we're able to get big dam off and not be interrupted 9 times out of 10. There is still some CC that will apply through tenacity, and that's something that you'll have to learn in PvP if you haven't learned already, but majority of the time this will stop any of the push CC that you have that keeps you from getting your abilities off and allow you to land them and walk through most of the CC out there. Timing it is the tricky part, but that's just something that comes with time and practice in PvP. All right, lastly, for our awakening skill, we have Terror Break. The reason I choose Terror Break as opposed to our other awakening skill is because this will fill up our gravity meter 100% when landed, and you'll see in the demonstration videos that I'll post after we go over all this that the Terror Break filling up the meter is incredibly important because of how good our identity skill is in PvP. So getting the ability to fill up your identity skill to 100% when you land this is incredibly good. And also Terror Break happens to have quite a bit of CC on it. As you'll know from the first video that we posted, it lifts enemies up and then slams them down for quite a bit of damage. So this is a very useful skill in PvP and enables you to be able to land more CC and do more damage with your identity skill. Alrighty, let's start from the top and work our way down with our abilities. So first in line is Dreadnought. You'll remember Dreadnought is our counter skill. You'll see a recurring theme with our abilities in PvP. We want to be taking tenacity in any tree that has tenacity in it. Like I mentioned earlier, tenacity in PvP is incredibly valuable. Don't underestimate the utility that tenacity has. Next, you have a little bit of an option here. If you feel like you're just learning and you're taking a little bit too much damage and you're not totally comfortable yet with the class, Toughen Body is a fine skill to take in PvP. But let's say you're more comfortable and you've been playing PvP for a little bit now and you feel like you need more damage initially, then Enhanced Strike is very good still too. So you can choose whatever you prefer here. And then for the last one, we will take Violent Hammer, allowing us to just have a little bit more damage on our Dreadnought ability. Let's go over Jumping Smash next. The first one we want to take is Superior Charge. We want to be able to go as far as we can with our Jumping Smash, and the 2 extra meters allows us to stay on top of our targets, as most classes will obviously be trying trying to get away from us and get out of melee with us. So being able to travel farther is just a very no-nonsense kind of skill, very useful. In the next row, we have two options. We have Bizarre Hammer or Armor Destruction. I personally take Bizarre Hammer as it generates an additional hammer and it does additional damage, but it also increases the damage area of the jumping smash itself, allowing you to have a bigger room for error when you're using a jumping smash to hit the enemies and be able to use the CC that it has on them. So this will just give you a little bit of buff room, making the window wider so it's easier to hit. But if you're very comfortable with it, you can also take Armor Destruction, especially if you're with more coordinated people in a higher bracket who are able to layer CC better. Armor Destruction is still also a viable choice. So I go either Bizarre Hammer or Armor Destruction. And lastly, we'll take Smash. It allows us to go an additional 5 meters. And while spinning in the air, we do another 100% damage. More damage is good and allows us to travel even farther so we can stick on top of our targets, as I just mentioned. Let's touch on Power Shoulder next. Power Shoulder has a few different things that we can do. So before we get into the tripods, one thing that you could do if you felt like it is instead of taking 10 points in Dreadnought, you could do something like this where you put it down to 7 points and then also put 7 points, 8 points, because we want to use as many as we can. We'd be left with 4, but it would allow you to use the second row of the tripods on Combo Shoulder if you find that to be more useful than having the third skill in Dreadnought. It is personal preference and it is whatever fits your playstyle best, as I mentioned earlier. So I'll go over both. If we were going just for 4 and only getting the first row, I go Tough and Body. We're taking 30% less damage as we're entering with the skill. Very, very good. And in the second row, you kind of have two choices. We have increasing the charge distance, which is very, very good as well. Or we have anti-gravity, which which allows us to have a 15% shield of our max HP. So again, if you feel like you're a little bit squishy and you're still learning the class, an extra shield for more life to make you more durable is a very useful choice. Or if you're very comfortable and you don't need that extra shield, you can take the extra distance traveled, and it is up to you how you want to spend your points. So for example, you could just go down to 4 points like I had it there and go up to 10 points here and take your third skill in Dreadnought, or you could have 2 in this one. I choose to just go the Tough and Body, but you can mix and match and figure out whatever fits best for you. Let's go over Running Crash next. For those of you who haven't used this skill yet, I would definitely go and practice this skill as it requires a little bit of finesse to land properly. The difficulty is that you go in a straight line, and once you are going in that straight line, you cannot deviate in any of the directions. So it's imperative that you learn how to cut angles to meet the target where it is, as opposed to charging to where they were. So like I said, make sure that you go and practice this. It takes a little bit of time to get used to, but it's still a very, very good skill. But with that out of the way, let's go over the tripods. I personally take Tough and Body. You could take Attack Speed, but you can't do damage if you're dead, so having the 30% damage reduction just helps us stay alive longer as well. Same thing applies here for the Gravity Shield, max 15% of our HP shield, allowing us to be more tanky and survive in combat for longer. And as well, the last one is Enhanced Advance. It allows us to concentrate the gravity field, allowing it to do more damage, and it increases the radius. The cool thing about Running Crash is that when you hit somebody with it, you are pushing them in the line with you, and at the end it explodes and knocks them in the air, allowing you to land CC subsequently after you land this ability. Lastly, for our blue abilities, we have our Endure Pain. One of the things that I mentioned in the PvE video is I actually will take Wide Hit in the PvE video, making the ability easier to land. One of the things that you'll notice in the video that I'll put on to show you guys a demonstration of the PvP is that a lot of the time you will actually pop Endure Pain before engaging in combat. So with that being said, we want to take Guaranteed Core. That's personally what I take. Guaranteed Core automatically gives you the gravity cores for Endure Pain, even if you don't hit the skill. So there'll be times in combat where you land the skill and you're able to do damage with it, but there'll be times when you're going to enter into combat and you want to use Endure Pain to be immune to CC to get yourself into combat, and the Guaranteed Core allows you to still have the gravity cores when you get into combat with your CC immunity from Endure Pain. Next, I go Anti-Gravity, as taunting people in PvP doesn't do anything. So Anti-Gravity allows us to also get a shield for 30% of our max HP for 5 seconds. So another big shield to help us be more tanky. And then we also have the 40% damage reduction on top of it. So we get a 40% damage reduction, a 30% of our max HP shield, and then we also take Healthy Mentality, which increases the duration by an extra 3 seconds. That's pretty significant. Granted that this lasts for 5 seconds, and this will give us an extra 3 seconds, allowing us to have 8 seconds of push immunity, which will be very, very crucial in PvP, which you'll see in the demonstration video, as I mentioned. Alrighty, next, let's go over our purple skills. We'll start with Earth Eater. The first one we want to take is Rock Fragment Damage. So one of the things that you'll notice down here at the bottom is we actually take Rock Storm. And what Red Shard does is it's almost like a Berserker Whirlwind, but instead of using the blade, we use the rock shards around us to do the damage instead. So this increases the damage done by those rock fragments by an additional 50%, pretty huge. And then in our second row, we take Tenacity, as I explained earlier, kind of a no-brainer, right? We want to push immunity. And then lastly, we'll take the Rock Storm. The Rock Storm, as opposed to the Earthen Rage, if you'll remember from the PvE video that we just did, the Earthen Rage is a big charge ability and then a big overhead slam. But what we want with the Rock Storm is it allows us to have that Whirlwind ability similar to Berserkers, gives us an extra 30% damage, but it removes the weak point attribute, but we're not really worried about the weak point attribute in PvP. So we'll take the Red Shard, Tenacity, and Rock Storm. Let's go over Seismic Hammer next. As you'll notice in the first row, we have Tenacity. As I mentioned, no brainer. Next, we have Absolute Strength. While possessing 3 cores, damage to push immune foes is increased by 40%. So you'll notice it says push immune foes. The cool thing is if somebody else in PvP also takes Tenacity and they have push immunity, which a lot of classes do, this will actually do more damage to classes with push immunity, fellow destroyers, berserkers, anybody who has tenacity abilities. And this is also very useful because of the way Seismic Hammer works and taking our starving strength is we create that giant AoE of rocks around us. And so usually characters that have push immunity are going to be melee characters, and allowing us to do more damage to the melee characters in range with our Seismic Hammer with this big wall that goes up around us. It's very useful because it can be used for offense or it can be used for defense to peel for your friendlies, as it will knock away enemies, and if you position it correctly, can even push them into your team for more damage. Alrighty, we saved the best for last. Perfect Swing our Bink. As you'll notice in the first row, as I mentioned, Tenacity, don't need to mention it again. In the second row, we have the same thing. While possessing 3 cores, damage to push immune foes is increased by 30%. The same thing that we applied from the Seismic Hammer's Absolute Strength, same thing applies here. Any melee that have push immunity will be taking more damage from our Perfect Swing. The difference though here that we take instead of Intemperance is that we take Hour of Slaughter. The Intemperance will allow for more damage in PvE as it adds an extra charge bar, but as we don't have access to engravings in PvP, it is quite slow and almost impossible to land in PvP if the players are playing correctly. So instead we take Hour of Slaughter, which you'll notice it changes it to normal mode and immediately swings the hammer, inflicting the same damage as Overcharge, but generates a gravitational wave that inflicts 30% base damage. So you'll actually swing and do damage with your Perfect Swing, and then you'll notice a little gravity field goes out in front of you and will actually stun somebody out in front of you. So you can actually hit 2 people with it at once, as well as even using it to hit somebody at range to stun them to allow yourself to get into melee if they're not already in melee with you. So it's quite versatile, as we don't want to be too slow to getting this ability off. It doesn't do quite as much damage, but it's a lot more applicable in PvP. All right, and then let's go over our Awakening skill. I'm sure everybody's familiar with it by now, but in case we were unfamiliar, the big thing about Terror Break, as I mentioned earlier, is it increases your gravity meter by 100% when you land the skill. Not only is it just good for CC as it levitates people in the air and slams them down, the important thing here is to land it once you'd see them use their spacebar or their other movement abilities are down, as they are able to dodge out of it before the actual shock or the actual crash hits. So it takes a little bit of time to get used to, but once you do start landing it, it is an incredible source of damage, especially if you're playing into a comp that has multiple melee members. It's much easier to land on melee than it is to land on ranged. Lastly, let's go over our Identity skill. Our Identity skill is our gravitational field around us, and our Z ability will put down this little core in the center and will actually pull foes closer towards you if they're at the outer ranges of the circle. So our Z ability again puts down the core and pulls them in, and actually does a significant amount of damage. The 2 great things about this ability though are each one of these subsequent bonks are all stunned attacks. So that means that every time you hit a person with this ability, it will stun them, and one of the only ways they're able to get out is with their spacebar. So if they have their spacebar down and you have this ability rolling, you will be able to CC them for almost the entire duration of the ability. Granted, if you put it up and you don't have the ability to get close to them with your spacebar, they can spacebar out of it before you're able to land the stun. But if you allow yourself to use the core and position it properly and pull them in, these subsequent bonks will all stun them. And also the fact that we have immunity to CC while we're in it also throws people off. You'll notice a lot of the time that people will try to CC you out of this function quickly to realize that they're unable to stun you out of this, and they have to wait until the bar is down. And it also can be used to peel for your friendlies. Nobody wants to enter into this gravitational field and get their brains bonked out, so they kind of leave their teammates to their own devices, giving them a shield if they can, or whatever it is that they can do to help. But you'll see often that people make the mistake of trying to come in here and stun you or knock you out of this, and allows you to just keep bonking away and stun them, and allows your team to land additional CC while you're using this ability. All right, so now that we've gone over the tripods and the skills that we take, I'm going to show you guys a clip of some PvP footage that I have. But during this match, I'm actually going to narrate over top of it, so you guys can kind of understand my thought process, how to layer skills better, or anything that you can glean from this video. So I'm going to be narrating over that. So let's hop into that video and I'll show you guys Destroyer in action in PvP. But before we get into the narration and the PvP demonstration, remember, you guys can come follow me over on Twitch and see this PvP live and ask questions while I'm there. And I'll be uploading my climbing experience through the ranked ladder of PvP and be uploading videos from that. So if you really enjoyed Destroyer PvP, or PvP in general for that matter, make sure to subscribe as well to make sure you catch those videos and watch me try to climb and do the best that I can in PvP, and we can see where we get. All right, this is going to be the PvP demonstration video. It's just one of the matches that I was playing over the last weekend. So let's hop into it. You'll notice we have a Gun Lancer, a Lance Master, and Sork versus a Striker, a Lance Master, and a Destroyer. Very similar team comps. Notice that I'm trying to avoid the CC, let them use their CC abilities before going in, dodge the spike, use the Endure Pain. See how we walked right through that storm, landing the CC, getting him knocked down. Trying to stay on top of squishies. Here we have the giant Rock Eater, or excuse me, Earth Eater. You'll notice that it stuns them while they're inside of it. Got out of range of there, the Gun Lancer, trying to stay out of the CC. Going in, getting hit by the Sork Awakening. But you'll notice how tanky we are. We ate a full awakening and it hardly moved our health bar. So then we got another Earth Eater. You'll notice I used my Dreadnought for tenacity through that wave again and able to kill her with the running crash. Using our Endure Pain to generate 3 cores, getting some extra damage in. Getting that big Endure Pain. We got our another Earth Eater. You'll see that we get 2 of them. We're able to almost get both of them, eating another Storm through a tenacity with our Dreadnought, and then killing the Lance Master there with our Seismic Hammer. Oop, got caught in the tail end of that. Sorks are one of that shock, or excuse me, that Ice Storm is one of the only things that CCs us through Endure Pain, for what it's worth. You'll notice how tanky we are. We've been able to stay alive this entire time and living on just a few health bars. You'll notice the big shield that we get from using our purple abilities. Hit him with the old bonk, pull him in there, and watch the gun. Unfortunately, we get killed, but we were able to get some of our damage off. You'll notice how incredibly tanky we are. We hit him with the running crash and hit him with the perfect swing before the awakening from the Gun Lancer comes down. Using a big seismic hammer there, killed the gun lancer. Pretty close game, 5-6. You'll notice the Endure Pain to get through the storm as well. Into a big Earth Eater again. Trying to stay on top of that Sork so she can't free cast. And you'll notice the running crash there. I had to take an angle, and it's really about using the detonation in the right place. We hit a big awakening skill there, trying to stay on top of the Lance Master now. Miss her with that one so we can get away from the counter. Gun Lancer comes in, pushes him away with a big seismic hammer. 8 seconds left. We're up 2 kills. That will be the ball game. Look at us. PvP Masters. MVP! Alrighty, that is the little demonstration video of it. It wasn't the best game in the world, but I wanted to show you guys how important that tenacity is to be able to get through CC, be able to get through the CC that will keep us away from getting onto the squishy targets. You'll notice that we hardly took any damage, even from their really big abilities. It takes a concentrated effort to kill us. We're deceptively tanky. Even though people know Destroyer's tanky, they will be shocked with the Endure Pains, the different gravity shields, all the things that you're able to do to stay alive, and you can actually bait people into trying to come into melee and kill you, and actually set up more CC for your team, even when you're on low life. Alrighty, those were the 2 games that I wanted to show you guys. Kind of demonstrates a lot of the things that I was talking about in the tripods and why we take certain things. You'll notice that we had a lot of tenacity through the CC with Endure Pain and our other forms of tenacity, and how helpful that is. We also showed how tanky we are in PvP. It takes a concerted effort to really kill us and get us down. And as I mentioned earlier, I'm going to be uploading more PvP videos to YouTube for everybody to see our climb through the ranked ladder in PvP. So make sure to tune in for all of that. But otherwise, that's all I have for you guys today. Thank you so much for hanging out and tuning into the PvP guide. I hope this was a good introductory to help you kind of understand how to Destroyer plays in PvP. But that's going to wrap up everything. I really do appreciate everybody being here. I really appreciate all the love and support that you guys have been showing in all the other videos. Thank you so much. We are getting closer and closer to 500 subscribers. So if you haven't subscribed already, please make sure to hit that subscribe button, support the channel, give it a thumbs up, do the YouTube stuff, and make sure that you come follow us on Twitch so you can see us PvP live and ask any questions that you might have while we're there, as I mentioned in the first part of the video. But thank you so much again for watching, everybody. I really do appreciate it. If you have any comments, questions, concerns, feel free to ask me in the comments below. I'm more than happy to answer any of them that you guys might have. But until next time, make sure to stay safe, be kind, and I will catch you all in the next one.